Today, we're diving into what is, pretty arguably, the most recited text on earth, Surah Al-Fatihah. It's the very first chapter of the Quran, and honestly, it forms the bedrock of daily life for well over 1 billion people.
So let me ask you something, just to put this into perspective. What single prayer do you think is recited by hundreds of millions of people multiple times a day, every single day? Yep, the answer is Al-Fatihah. The sheer scale of that repetition alone tells you just how important this is.
Okay, so to really understand its power, we've got to start with its name and its role. Let's get into it. Section 1, the opener.
So the name Al-Fatihah, it literally translates to the opener. And that name is brilliant because it works on a couple of levels. On the one hand, yeah, it's the literal opening to the Quran, the very first chapter you read. But on a much deeper level, it's seen as the key that opens up a direct conversation with God.
And we're not just talking about some ceremonial title here. For practicing Muslims, Al-Fatihah is the absolute cornerstone of their 5 daily prayers. It's recited in every single part of the prayer, so it becomes this constant centering thing throughout the entire day.
So what does this prayer actually say? Let's break it down, verse by verse. We'll start with how it sets up the whole relationship between the person praying and God. It all begins with praise and sovereignty.
The prayer kicks off with this really powerful invocation, the basmala. It immediately sets the tone by focusing on God's mercy. And you got to notice the nuance here. Entirely merciful is often understood as this big, universal mercy, kind of like the sun shining on everyone. But especially merciful, that suggests a more focused, personal mercy for those who are actively looking for it.
And then the first official verse follows, and it's this huge declaration of praise that's both absolute and universal. It's not just some praise or praise from just one group of people. No, it's all praise, and it's all going to the Lord of the worlds.
Now that phrase, Lord of the worlds, that is so significant, especially for the time it was revealed. See, this isn't talking about some local or tribal god, one that's tied to a single people or one specific place. This is a declaration of a universal creator, one whose authority is over all realms and all creation, everything we can see and everything we can't.
So the theme of mercy gets repeated right away, which just goes to show how important it is. But then, it's paired with this really powerful, contrasting idea: God as the ultimate sovereign on the day of recompense.
This day of recompense is talking about the day of judgment, and it brings in this concept of divine justice. So right here, you see one of the core ideas of the prayer. It holds 2 powerful concepts in this perfect balance. You've got boundless mercy on one side, and ultimate accountability on the other.
And it's that very balance that leads us to the heart of the prayer. The tone is about to shift big time. We go from speaking about God to speaking directly to God. This is the core covenant.
This right here, this is the pivot point of the entire chapter. The whole way of speaking changes. It's no longer talking about God in the third person. It becomes a direct, personal address. It is you we worship, and you we ask for help.
And this one single verse perfectly captures this 2-part deal. The first half, that's a promise of exclusive devotion. The second half is this really humble admission that, you know what, we need help. It's this powerful mix of commitment and reliance, all in one sentence.
Okay, so you've established praise. You've made this core promise. So where does the prayer go from here? It moves to its central request, a plea for guidance.
After all the praise, after the promises, this is the ultimate ask. It's so simple, so direct, and just so profound. Guide us to the straight path. This is the #1 request of the whole chapter.
So what exactly is the straight path? Well, it's not just talking about a physical road. It's a whole way of living, a path of moral clarity and spiritual balance. It's the most direct route, the one that avoids all the pitfalls of going to extremes on either side.
But here's the thing, the prayer doesn't just ask for the path and leave it at that. It actually helps define it. The final verses clarify what this path is by showing us exactly what it isn't. So the final verse defines the straight path using 3 different groups. First, it's the path of those who have received God's grace and favor. That's the goal. Then, it's defined by what it's not. It's not the path of those who have earned divine anger, and it's not the path of those who have just lost their way and gone astray.
This method of clarification is just so fascinating. True guidance, the prayer is suggesting, isn't just about knowing where to go. It's also about knowing what to stay away from. It's like a compass that points you toward the ideal while also warning you about the dangers.
It's guidance through both what you hope for and what you're cautious of.
And there you have it. In just these few short lines, Al-Fatihah packs in an entire, complete conversation. It starts with praise for God, it moves to this personal promise of devotion, and it wraps up with a heartfelt plea for direction. Praise, promise, and a plea. So I'll leave you with this final thought. If the core of your daily spiritual practice, something you repeat over and over, is a constant request for guidance on a straight path, how do you think that might fundamentally shape your worldview, your decisions, and your entire perspective on life's